And that's the end of that story.
That is.
Man.
Yeah.
We had
to
to
wrap.
drink that much Mad Dog 2020, Shecky.
Yep. We had to
If
stop
you're
that story
Jewish.
before we went live.
Only Jews like me can drink that much.
Yeah. Nothing but the finest bum wines for you. That's for sure.
Can you
Exactly.
repeat the part where you stole the raccoon?
Yeah.
You could repeat that, but I'll deny it.
Yeah. That's a smart move. Smart move.
So did anything happen while we were in shutdown? Anything at all?
I don't know. I was shut down.
Sure. Yeah.
Nothing I know of.
We didn't have music with that.
The internet stopped working completely. It just turned off. They pressed the big red button.
I every year I have like fingers crossed that like there's some like Y2K just delayed by 20 some years that it's like everything just goes out. I'm like, all right, awesome, like ready to go.
Yeah.
I had coffee with Wade Wells. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Ooh, is that a podcast?
It does sound
It
like
could be.
It could be. I think
no,
we
we're
covered a
full.
lot of a lot of time.
ASMR sipping.
Hey, is Mr. Strand going to join us?
I think he's trying to, but we were already filled up.
2025, Corey.
Well, hey, I'm happy to drop if you need a spot for
What
John.
up?
Woohoo!
We'll also drop. I just showed up to say
Well,
hi.
let's just everyone leave and then let John do the show solo.
Oh no, just hide us all. Hide us all. Throw us all in backstage and only have John on the show. Be like, John, nobody showed up.
All
That's a
right,
different
Yeah.
Ryan, I'm dropping to see if we can get John on, okay?
No, we need you, Kelly. We have
need a
GRC
Kelly.
problems.
Well,
I am.
As soon as I can figure out how.
What you want to do
Is
is
it-
just throw your computer in the trash. That will solve all the problems. Just take the whole thing, dumpster.
You know, my wife's thinking about getting into cybersecurity, and I'm like, you should just go into GRC. She's like, we don't know anybody in GRC. And I'm like, you know Kelly. And she's like, oh my God, I can do the same thing as Kelly. I'm like, yeah. She's like, all right, I'm in.
your wife is way smarter than I am. She's a scientist.
Who knew scientist doesn't make money, right?
Just like teachers. Not
Depends
fair.
on the scientist. I know some
Just-
scientists that make good money.
She's genetically engineering E. coli to create byproducts and everyday products.
Oh my!
So the E. coli that she created creates nylon that goes into Lululemon leggings.
No way.
Straight up.
And there's no
9
money in that?
stuff.
You're telling me turning bacteria into leggings isn't making money?
I guess,
Yeah.
right? Like, you got me. You got
That's a
me.
world changer.
Yeah.
Lululemon leggings, and I'm just like,
Science.
no.
John, are you wearing Lululemon right now? Because a lot of older men tend to like those ABC pants, from what I've heard.
No.
No, I am.
No, the look on his face. No,
How did you know?
I'm sorry for outing you, John, but I knew that
on.
I. Oh, yes. I guess he has to go.
No, he's about to get into a wider shot.
He's gonna.
Yes.
no,
he's
the,
gonna-
I knew it.
yes.
So John, would you be surprised to learn that Wade's wife made bacteria that somehow made that shirt exist?
Oh no, that completely checks out. I wouldn't be surprised by that, not in the slightest, actually.
Makes absolute sense. I mean, sky's blue, water's wet, and Wade's wife makes stuff that goes in Lululemon stuff. I mean, I don't know what you don't get.
Right.
I did have to go
San
on
Diego.
camera, just so you know, because I did take my shirt off, and no one wants that shit. No one wants that.
Juicy. First podcast
John,
of
your
the
volume's a
year.
little low.
Podcast
If you
of
could
the
boost
year.
it.
Oh,
Turn it off, no. I don't know. I don't know where to go from that. I got nothing. Just a dead end.
So wait, are we changing anything? Let's change this podcast to something else for 2025. That's what everyone should do.
With-
Yeah,
Oh,
let's
wait, here
do
we
the Lululemon synthetic podcast. 2025.
LL
We should
synthetic.
set up some challenges. So, do I need to go down or up on my sound level?
Go
Up.
up.
All right. How's that?
Go up. Keep
Get
going
Get
up.
those levels up.
Is that better or worse?
Up
Does your
and to the
amp
right.
go to 11?
Wait, hold on. I bet. Ah.
Oh,
Oh,
you know what?
that better?
I think it went down.
You look thinner.
I do look thinner. Thank you.
It's that Lululemon. It makes you
It's
look
that
fit.
Lululemon.
Well, it
Good
sounds
job.
clearer, but your volume's still low.
All right, hold on. Oh. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. How's that?
there we
go.
How's
All
that?
right.
Hey.
There you go.
Loud and clear.
Woo.
So we got
Oh.
suggestions 2025, Corey. One of them is John shirtless. No,
Yes.
Oh my.
that's not gonna happen.
I think.
Oh, did it get warm in
well,
here?
Yeah.
For a long time at conferences, I would get to the conference floor, get to our booth, and just take off my shirt and put on one of the booth shirts. And I had one of the employees at the time say, "I think I've seen you topless more than any boss I've ever had in my entire life."
Well, John, so the problem is we have to cancel our Lululemon sponsorship if you don't wear a shirt for the entire year.
I just find it weird that I was wearing a Lululemon shirt as it came out. Like, it's just the trifecta. That's weird. Very
All
strange.
right. Should we do the show? I guess.
Let's do it.
Oh yeah, that means me. Sorry, it's
Ryan's like, oh, sorry, I was buying some stuff on
Everybody's just
Amazon.
holding
Oh
back
crap.
their
There we
Hello and welcome to the year 2025. It is the beginning of the apocalypse in IT where AI runs rampant on Facebook and hacks continue to happen in the exact same goddamn way that they've been happening in the past 25 years. I'm mad, I'm angry, and we're going to do predictions, really bad predictions in this episode of the brand new year of InfoSec, talking about news with Black Hills Information Security. Are we ready to jump in and talk about some juicy InfoSec stories? Because damn, it's just stacked with stories. So many stories coming up.
It's almost like we
Kick us
took
off.
3 weeks off or 2 weeks off. It's kind
But
of
there's some particularly good stories that don't happen every month, right?
all right, Wade. What do you
We've-
got?
We've got to start with the Treasury, though. I had family members calling me and all of that. Is it okay if we kick off with that one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
roll it.
Ryan can find U.S. Treasury hacked.
I'm getting there.
And for those of you that don't know, the United States Treasury was hacked, but they were hacked through BeyondTrust. And for those of you that don't know, BeyondTrust is literally an application service that you can buy that's designed to make sure that you don't get compromised through credentials. So it appears the Chinese got access to an exploit or somehow gained access to the BeyondTrust Council, which allows you to change local account passwords to anything that is in the BeyondTrust identity and access management solution. And that's just what they did, which I want to kind of open this up to everybody. Seriously, I feel a little bit vindicated because I was teaching for years, still teach, and people ask me about these solutions. And a lot of times what I say is, it does make our life more difficult as pen testers, but damn, it scares me to think of all of these eggs in one basket. Because in the past, I've actually broken into a couple of these identity and access management solutions for pen test back when I was still doing it in the days of COBOL, Fortran, and Turbo Pascal. And once you get into this, you get into absolutely everything. I do believe that it's a little bit better, than not having solutions like this. But goddamn, everyone's got to be worried about this. So what does this mean? Where do we go from here? Why do we have double rainbows? Who wants to take it from here while I drink? Whatever the hell.
Well, what I want to know is, do you think BeyondTrust was using AnyDesk for their remote support?
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know.
You know what?
Well, so the article kind of skirts around a little bit, but the hack happened through, software as a service type stuff, right? And I'm just kind of curious, I'm assuming this is a first party product, and I'm also assuming it was info stealers, because everyone just go ahead and check that off on your 2025 business or bingo card.
Done.
Just info stealers, day one.
You gave them that way too
Already
easy,
done.
right
I'm
off
sorry.
the bat.
It was the free space.
It's the center.
Sorry.
It's the center square. It's the
Yes,
center
yeah.
square, and bingo. It's a gimme. You just got it.
So I would guess this is exposed credentials for BeyondTrust on InfoSealer exposed credentials. Someone taking advantage of it. I don't think it really means anything big for BeyondTrust. A lot of our clients use BeyondTrust. To be honest, it's pretty commonly used. And turns out, if you have remote support, you got to secure that maybe even harder than your actual first party support, right? Because RDP is always going to work every day of the week, but BeyondTrust, when it needs to work, it's probably important. Like for the CrowdStrike blue screen, like that's when you need that support or third party stuff.
Yep.
I got a different take on it.
Oh, please, yeah.
Our friend Jake Williams, was actually quoted in Wired, and I got to kind of agree with him. His take was it was a command injection vulnerability, and his call to action in the article was, hey, you would expect something more from a company and a service that's FedRAMP certified. So as the person with the compliance hat on, I'm like, well, apparently FedRAMP really doesn't mean anything.
It's a cool way to get your bike off the ground. FedRAMP.
I hate to disagree with my brother from another mother. To expect more, and I know that Jake's being sarcastic, by the way. But good night, everybody. Like, we have more and more consolidation. I just got done talking with one of our customers about Microsoft vulnerabilities, and all of these things that are happening in the cloud that Microsoft is flat out ignoring. So much so that things like this, I'm planning on giving a webcast here in the next couple of weeks. My predictions for 2025 are, here's all the shit we're going to continue to ignore. And I think that one of the things that we're absolutely...
That's a rant cast.
It is a rant cast. Yeah. I'm right. Yeah, it's not a webcast. We're going to call it a rant cast. And we're just going to continue to ignore shit like this, right? We look at Kaseya, we look at all of these different breaches that we had of third-party vendors. I think that we're just going to continue to ignore it. And I think that a lot of these vendors, whenever they first get their product set up, right, it's all about the product. It's all about selling the product. It's all about advertising the product. But after a while, these products become cash cows. And I'm not necessarily accusing this of what happened with BeyondTrust, but let's just say I wouldn't be surprised that the people in charge of BeyondTrust were no longer interested in trying to keep security up, trying to check and make sure that things like command injection vulnerabilities didn't show up, that there's just no money in that.
There's basically proof of that. There's basically proof of that because the vulnerabilities were discovered during incident response. Correct? Yes. Like I'm not misinterpreting that. Like,
how bad does it have to be that your IR team finds the vulnerabilities?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think that's basically proof that they're not as up to date with security testing their own products if they found something during incident response that now has 2 CVEs, right? Like
they like to recursively pen test. That's the thing. It's like, now after the fact, now we can get a really good pen test going.
Yeah.
Find those vulnerabilities and keep those people out of our
It's like, God damn it, people.
But it's the reversal.
That's not how pen testing is supposed to work. You don't wait for a breach and then get one.
Well, it's a budgetary issue, John. When you listen,
Actually, I take that back. For all of you that get breached, please contact Black Hills Information Security for all your pen test needs. We'll take your pen testing dollars. It doesn't really matter one way or the other.
We're FedRAMP pen test ready. That means absolutely nothing.
We're SOC 2 Type 2 certified. I paid for that shit, and I don't know what that means. So,
I will say
it's still this whole case that I've seen for years of they put the sales, the money before anything else. And I've talked with dev friends of mine over the years, and nothing has changed. They've got their deadlines. They've got to push something out with new features because they've got to be first to market, or they've got to keep up with the Joneses so fast. And security just doesn't matter to them. Oh, we'll toss it on later. Nobody's going to find this little bug.
Are you speaking about developers?
I think he's speaking as a macro issue, not specifically about BeyondTrust.
Yeah, I think
and John, so many vendors right now.
Yeah, I did John's homework on things that were going to be like ignored for 2025. So whenever you want me to jump in,
Alex.
Do you have a time machine?
There you go.
Sure. But so the thing that I boiled it down to, and I described it as security overrides for exceptional users. And it's just going to continue to be things like the developers that you're talking about, that they have to have things and they go, don't have the security stack on my computer. We need to work from, a machine that I can install anything on. And oftentimes that's their home machine that also runs a Plex server, also runs this. You have, like, when you say use MFA everywhere, cool, but there are again those security exceptions to where you have organizations that say, well, we don't want people to have phones on the teller line or on the manufacturing line, so we can't do it because of these exceptions. And some exceptions make sense though, because you go, working with doctors, medical fields, they go, look, I don't have my security token, I don't know my password, I need to get into this system to do an emergency C-section, and there's like patient safety. So yeah, you have those security overrides for a reason, but I think the thing that's going to continue to be ignored is just having all those overrides. And when you look at, the machine servers that have, unpatched vulnerabilities, things that their teams told them about, it's likely because that was that security exception or security override for exceptional users that they go, we need this outdated way of accessing a sensitive server because there is some vendor out there that needs it. There is some exception that we're just going to throw security out the door or push it out the door a little bit to say, here's these exceptions, and that's just going to continue to be something ignored. So,
Okay,
and rant. That's my homework assignment, John.
That's great. I'm going to throw it over to Kelly, though, because whenever we're looking at GRC, we're talking about compliance. We play that game all the time, right? Like whenever you're talking to companies and you're saying, okay, you're in compliance. How's MFA? Oh, we're 100% compliant with everything in MFA. And you're like, really? Everything? And they're like, except our AS400 systems. And but you cannot hold a company completely, like you cannot score them from a compliance perspective on their absolute worst system. So I think that there's always got to be that balance. And I think Kelly knows that balance better than just about anyone. Kelly, do you want to talk a little bit about that in your stuff that you deal with us and our customers?
Sure. I'm going to try and translate that rant there and the handoff. I think, John, what you're talking about there is risk management. And a good GRC program isn't just about check marks and compliance and that sort of stuff, but it's really understanding what risk. You mentioned there are some systems that really have a higher risk profile, and we need to spend more attention on or try and get MFA on them, like VPNs, remote access. But then there's other systems where we have to kind of do a risk analysis and say, well, this thing's old. Is it worth trying to update? Is there a better solution? And if we could pivot our GRC programs to talking about risk instead of compliance and check marks, I'd be a whole lot happier.
What if you had a webcast about that?
If only there was
coming
a
up
on that topic, if there was somebody who was an expert on that. But if you talk about risk, like the biggest problem that I have with risk vis-a-vis GRC, and we're talking compliance and all that, is risk is the intersection at the core foundation of it is threat times vulnerability. And it's impossible for anybody to come up with a definition or a quantifiable number, or even a subjective number for risk, if you don't understand threats and you don't understand vulnerabilities. And I think that was one of the reasons why pen testing layers in on top of that, right? Because it's one of those things to illuminate threats and vulnerabilities in organizations. And there's other ways to pull that out with vulnerability assessments, threat intelligence, all of that can come into play. And once again, those are all things that a lot of organizations ignore, right? Whenever they're trying to do computer security or information security in general, they're looking at it as more of like a checklist exercise, as Kelly said, that can die in a fire, rather than truly trying to understand what was the purpose behind doing those different compliance standards that are out there. And I think that that's going to be another thing that people are just going to ignore in 2025. They're going to look at computer security, and this goes back to Jake Williams' comment. It's like, oh, they're FedRAMP certified. No one gives a shit because apparently it doesn't matter. And the thing that hurts me at my soul is every time that happens, that compliance standard gets a little bit weaker and a little bit weaker and a little bit weaker. And then we have a whole bunch of people that come out and say, oh, we don't need compliance standards at all. And then we're right back at square one again.
So, John, let me ask you this, based off of that assessment, how do we get them to give a shit? Like, what is the path back to like, hey, you know what? We should probably really start doing something. Is it a money thing? Is it a time thing? Is it a combination of a bunch of stuff? Like, what would be the thing that you would say would probably get some a lot more buy-in from these organizations to go, we need to take this more seriously?
I'm just going to throw this out quickly, and I want to open it up to other people. But seriously, the solution to every single one of our problems is education. The more people understand the technical components and the nitnoids of computer security, of IT, of their cloud infrastructures, regardless of whatever their job is, the better we're all going to be. So that's my take. I don't know if anyone else has a different one.
The problem that I run into with checkboxes is that it's all based on compliance saying this is the minimum level, and the minimum level is never going to be enough. And we got to understand that anybody that's looking at it from a corporate executive position is going to say, do we meet the minimum standards? Do we get that checkbox? If we raise that level of what it takes to get that checkbox, we get more security because they want that checkbox for their insurance or for their compliance or for whatever reason behind it. It's an identifiable and quantifiable thing for them. So what do we need to do? We know that ABC is the minimum. We need to tell them, instead of ABC being the minimum inside of these compliance audits, inside of these checklists, that CDE that we know is what we should require should be the minimum, not the minimum be the minimum. That's just my thought on it.
Or why not just take out the minimum altogether? Because again, if we
the second you take out the minimum, they're going to do nothing. That's been proven.
I disagree. I want to come back to that, Mike, but go ahead, BSD.
Yeah. So reason I say take out the minimum, because that's the first question they're going to ask. Okay, what is the bare minimum that we need to do in order to pass our audit, right? And you want to look at it from a standpoint like, okay, when they ask you that question, maybe that might be the time for a conversation. Like, yeah, you may have the bare minimum to pass the audit, but show them the real risk that's actually happening. You know, of course, with whether it's what you've seen out in the field with other customers or what's going on in the actual news, because again, that kind of devalues the actual. I'll say devalues the kind of the actual compliance if they're just doing the bare minimum, they still get breached like 3 or 4 months later, because we all know that the breaches are actually starting to mount up a lot faster than what they used to.
What if we kind of hybrid that and we just flat out move to a GDPR framework where it's basically like, okay, we're not going to tell you how to secure your shit. We just aren't. And we're not going to try to tell you what the minimum is, because the minimum that we come up with today is going to be deficient 6 months and a year from now. It's basically like you need to have good security, and if you don't, then we're going to hold you accountable in a GDPR where it's more of an accountability framework rather than a compliance framework.
Ooh, yeah.
So okay, I have a
that's a good one.
I know Kelly is waiting to go last because
AI
I feel like
trying to transcribe this. It just thought that it's transcribing porn with the amount of moaning and groaning that we just had. All right, go ahead.
That was a good one. It's like,
I think Kelly will have the last word here because she'll probably have.
We got to
move
move on.
Yeah,
but I want to say I think penalties are really the only way to go here. I think we've shown that there's only a stick, there's no carrot. And I guess I would say for FedRAMP people, if you I think a lot of government contractor type entities view the government as basically a cash cow of they'll pay all day, every day, no matter what we do, even if we aren't compliant, even if we aren't this. So I guess what I would say is make it so that, let's say you're a FedRAMP vendor and you result in the breach of a U.S. agency of some kind. You should be ineligible for future FedRAMP contracts until you fix the problem that was originally identified or a certain time frame.
And publicly.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's like,
what
hey,
you did to fix it.
Exactly. It's. I mean, I think most companies would have to bend over backwards for the government in a scenario like this. I'm sure BeyondTrust is bending over backwards for the Treasury Department, but you basically have it's like the GSA, right? You have a list of these vendors are FedRAMP certified but are currently on probation because they messed up and breached a U.S. federal agency. You know what I mean? Public shame, and also preventing them from signing new contracts until they either fix the issue or until a certain time expires, like 6 months.
That shit'll get fixed.
Yeah.
All right. We need to give Kelly the last word on this, and we have to move on because we're playing in Kelly's kiddie pool. So we need to move on. Go ahead, Kelly.
Okay. So the last word, I heard what you were saying, Corey, about a carrot and a stick. I think we flip the conversation and the commodity is trust. Once customers stop trusting organizations, then they pay attention.
And I think that translates.
Well, only if the Treasury Department person who signs the SOW doesn't trust them. Because like as a customer, quote unquote, of a lot of government services that I have no control or say in, right? Like it's not like I'm like, no, Department of the Treasury, don't issue any more bonds. Like I can't control what they're doing. I don't even know what they do. Like it's up to one person or maybe a few people at those organizations to decide who they trust for their vendor, right? Like it's not like the public gets to vote on the next remote access vendor for the Treasury Department, right? So
I hear what you're saying. Let me clarify what I was trying to say. I think at the consumer level, when we start taking our business other places and we say, listen, I don't trust that organization because of how they handle my data or don't handle it, or they sold it. I mean, how many people have left Facebook? I mean, for a variety of reasons, but Facebook can be kind of, not always upfront about how they handle data. You know, they have one lawsuit and complaint after another. I think as John has said, if we educate and get Joe and Jane, U.S. citizen, involved in understanding really the most important thing we have is our data and our identifiers. And I think that'll win over checklists and hammers.
All right. Let's move on. I really want to talk about the new HIPAA, proposed security rule changes. I don't know if anybody had a chance to read this.
Is this the Kelly show or what? Gosh.
No. They have
wait, hold on. Okay, we can do a quick bingo thing in between. Okay, who had classified? We'll come back to HIPAA, but for bingo people out there, who had War Thunder forums leaking classified information? Was that on your bingo card?
Yeah, that's all
was on mine
card because
okay.
I didn't see this.
You just have that meme of like it's been X number of days since classified.
It's not really a story. It's like a 2-second.
It's a 2-second story. It's not the first time. It's not the second time. This isn't even the third time. This is the fourth time government classified data has been leaked to War Thunder in order to prove an argument. You're
kidding me.
This is the best thing ever. Someone needs to hire these guys. Like, honestly, just hire the War Thunder. What do we need to know about the new Chinese stealth bomber? They'll get it out to us and let us know.
Your pen test, War Thunder?
What is this game?
That sounds like an amazing name.
So it's just a realistic version
is this like
of
the best game ever? Like,
no, it's just combat simulation. Yeah,
but it's highly accurate combat simulation, which is why these things happen with the classified documents, because somebody will talk about like, oh, there's this tank is represented this way in the game, and someone will go, no, they don't have it right. They don't have this right. People go, of course they have it right, and they go, what would you know? And then they go, I know the capabilities of this class. They have it wrong because here's a classified document showing its specs, and I know what I'm talking about. And they use it to win internet arguments.
So the best part about this one though is he didn't just win the internet argument. They're arguing about it. He mentioned it. Then he said he was going to post it, and they warned him, don't post it. And you know what he did? He posted it anyway.
Of course.
Here's the quote. Okay. I will take this opportunity to again remind everyone here, please do not, under any circumstances, try to share any sources unless you're 100% certain they are legally declassified and publicly safe for use. We will never handle or use them, and all it does is actively harm any possible future changes being possible by trying to use them. Do not do it. No goodwill will ever come of it for you or the vehicle you're trying to post for. And you said this happened 4 times. This happened to the Challenger 2 tank, the Larek main battle tank, Chinese ammunition systems, and now the Captor radar for the Typhoon Eurofighter platform. Holy crap. I got to be playing this game. Like these guys.
It really does prove that the most powerful force in the universe is thinking that you're about to be proven wrong.
Yeah.
Like it's like
why are you still awake? Well, somebody's wrong on the internet.
Maybe this forum just needs like a section for classified documents, like a special login and everything. Like this is where all the classified stuff goes, just in case. Like, and then
the War Thunder ETF Village. Oh yeah.
ETF Village.
Oh yeah.
Do they have a con? Do they have a War Thunder con? We should go.
All the people are sanctioned. They can't go. Just kidding.
They're all caught. I'm sure I'd have to let the. I'm sure I'd have to notify the FBI. Like, where were you? Estonia, Latvia, all these places. I went to a War Thunder conference. Oh my god. We need a full scope poly for this man
we
right
need to
now.
talk right now.
Right now. I
All
like
right,
this.
sorry
Good
for
thing
the
we don't know more
diversion.
about nukes.
So back to the HIPAA thing after
All
our
right,
quick
all right.
diversion. Did we already talk about this, Kelly?
No.
I forget.
No,
Okay.
it's new.
I-
It's the happy HIPAA present.
I like it. It looks to me like they're like addressing a lot of the things that we just talked about, right? Like a lot of the changes seem to be like just fantastic. Like, this one require vulnerability scanning at least every 6 months and pen testing at least once every 12 months. Hooray. Another one, require network segmentation. Great. Requiring multi-factor authentication with some limited exceptions. Like so far, this looks pretty good.
So
like
what are
in
the changes,
right direction.
Kelly? Like before, it was just a risk assessment, right? Not an actual pen test, or what? What are the big high level changes here?
So the big high level changes is they're taking out the mushy language, and it used to be addressable and required. They've cleared up that confusion around those two words. Everything is required now. They used to have a risk assessment piece before. Now, John, the thing that gets me all excited is that risk assessment. They've said, listen, we want to see a technology asset inventory
Oh my god.
and a network map of how EPHI goes through the systems. This is crazy that we're finally asking for a technology asset inventory finally in 2024 December.
Every network that's
Buy
HIPAA
Nmap
certified is
stock.
about to be shut down right
Yeah.
now. They're no.
I love this because every time we pen test a like hospital, we have to fight this crap every single time. And they're like, well, we're just got to make some exceptions. And look, I get, that there's a need for exceptions, but seriously, some of their exceptions, like, well, people might die. I'm like, this is for like the dermatology section. Like, I don't know. We
Only
aren't
thing dying
talking
is pimples
emergency
and acne.
room here.
Hey, they got
or-
lasers in there.
They
and
got
stuff, right?
lasers. Right?
Someone
This
might
is-
die.
But they use this so often as like, this isn't something that we need to take care of. It's like literally it's exposed from anyone who can access your wireless network. They can take over your MRI scanner. That's bad. That's a critical. And it's
Our
like,
network map is more of a cloud. It's more of an asset cloud.
asset cloud.
It just all the assets are just floating up there.
You're saying that like multiple people have told you that in the past. So
Asset
God.
blanket.
Oh my God. The legacy technology that you find in healthcare facilities is insane. And having that asset map technology list, oh my God. Like
what? I have an interesting idea. Why don't we have like, how like there's like big tech, big pharma, why don't we get like big red team to like start lobbying and like create a whole lobby and then get all these like really like this type of stuff put into place, right? How do we get that money in order to lobby the government and to get this?
Oh,
Does anybody does that make sense at all? Big red team, right?
The problem is hackers are way too
Just
like,
big
we're
hackers.
we
we're
fund
too
it via
benevolent.
Bitcoin.
We're too benevolent. We like to just give things away. We would never do that.
here's a bunch of crap that we're sick and tired of doing findings on, and it's just like, don't have this in your organization anymore. I don't want to find.
We just have a list of on our website like
Never
default
again.
findings. It just says like if you've been pen tested by BHIS, these findings affect you by default. Number 1, not having network diagrams. Yes, we're talking to you specifically.
I feel attacked here. Yes, you are. That is absolutely
Not having no network segmentation. We're talking to you specifically, website reader.
How do they know? I just, but you see all of those things that you hear about, and you always talk to people in the healthcare industry. They're like, well, we're precious snowflakes. And then you talk to DoD people and they're like, well, we have to have legacy systems and all of this stuff because we're precious snowflakes. And then you go to finance and accounting and like banks, and they're like, well, we need to have this legacy technology on a flat network because we're precious snowflakes. No one understands the plight of the hospital, the DoD installation, the finance. They're all the same goddamn problems that show up again and again and again. Don't think you're special. You're not. Oh my God, it's another rant. I'm feeling
Right on, John. Right on.
Okay.
When everybody's a precious snowflake, nobody is.
All right. As a blue teamer, as someone who has to test detections, I am special. All right. I need all the access I can get.
Everything.
Okay, you're
everywhere.
a documented exception because you're in the
little
domain
bit of
users group, which
everything
is
all the time.
What finally made HIPAA go, you know what? I feel like we're not doing security very well. We should probably do something about this.
Well, Daniel, I've got an answer to that for you. It actually was
figured
the
you
Biden
would.
administration.
What?
The Biden administration back in 2023 said, listen, we need to come up with a cybersecurity strategy to increase protection around different U.S. organizations. And he tasked OCR, Office of Civil Rights, which oversees Health and Human Services. And they actually came out with a white paper and said, here's the good things we think we should be doing. So they actually made recommendations to the HIPAA security rule themselves.
Nice.
That's a start.
Thank goodness.
Definitely a start.
Yeah,
So
I love how John tells us that their big complaint is like, well, if you test this, if you test that, it could kill somebody. Yeah, and you leaving these systems open literally has killed people.
Financially.
Right? Like, let's
Yeah, but it's kind of the
be
difference
honest.
between a
If
mistake
we
and
can-
a pen tester. So
yeah. If we can cause the issue, chances are a threat actor can cause the issue.
right.
Oh, no,
It's the ransomware attacks on healthcare. It's gotten to be so bad. We had Change Health, we had United. It's gotten so much attention. I don't think OCR and HHS can ignore it anymore.
Well, let's get into the Breachies because EFF published the Breachies
go for it.
2024.
Dude, they
So,
stole our
I-
idea. We needed to do this. I don't know
we
why
should
we
have
never
done
did
it.
this.
I will say they didn't. To my knowledge, they haven't given anyone a trophy, so I'm sad. But this is basically. We won't probably go through the whole article. There's a bunch of fun. It's worth a read. So take a look at it yourself. But they basically issued fun awards for the best breaches of 2024. The highlights are. We have national public data. That was probably the worst. The, just disaster to end all disasters. Change Health was another huge one that Kelly just mentioned. The city of Columbus thing with a researcher. I mean, most of these, spoiler alert, we talked about on the news. So go back to previous episodes. I think we talked about Snowflake every week for like 2 months.
We did.
Yeah, I mean, there's some fun stuff in here worth reading on your own, but basically all the breaches we've already talked about them, but it's fun to see them tied up in a nice little bow.
And it's written so well, and it's so funny. Like,
yes.
it is really an amazing article. You all need to read it. It's coming from the EFF, so it's good. To
dovetail with that, I wanted to talk about the Salt Typhoon thing, because Salt Typhoon was the threat actors that breached American telecoms, and there's a bunch of spin-off stories here, but the spin-off story I want to talk about first is Verizon and AT&T basically published and said, we're safe. We haven't seen any alerts in the last 60 days, so we're good. And the other thing is, wasn't there 3 entities breached? So the other one's just like, guys, we're not okay.
I think it was 9, wasn't it? And so you started with like the top one, to then got down to like the lower.
It was like Lumen Networks is another one. There's others than just AT&T and Verizon, but they've both now issued press releases saying, we're good, thumbs up. You can use SMS again.
Yeah, please feel free to continue doing all the unencrypted communications that we can intercept.
I didn't know the Wizard of Oz ran telco companies.
Never look behind that curtain. Daniel, don't.
How were they proving a negative? I always thought you can't prove a negative.
No. It says here, no alerts.
Though, like a little bit to the BeyondTrust thing. It's like kind of putting all of these eggs in these baskets, and then we're surprised when the basket gets kicked, and we're like, "Holy shit! All these eggs broke." That seems bad. It just seems like there's too many of these choke points that exist in IT today. Like we need some people to come in and start breaking up big tech. That's what I think. Like right now.
Well, this isn't big tech. This is big telecom. It's a whole different lobbying group.
Different than Big Red Team.
Big tech and big telecom are actually
Big Red Team is fine.
So big tech and big telecom are actually beefing hard with the whole net neutrality thing and the whole basically the news article is that net neutrality is basically dead. Unfortunately, it's dead as of last week. Basically the outgoing FCC was had a lawsuit in place, and it got essentially struck down, saying that they don't have the legal capability to set these kinds of rules.
Because the internet is not a utility. It's not like it's used to run our entire lives and health and everything. It's not.
As a judge, I don't use the internet at all. I just drive my 1952 car to the 1952 building.
You gotta crank it to start it. Yeah, it's one of those.
It's kind of annoying, but you know what? I still have a flip phone, so it's fine.
You just cannot get in the way of big companies making more money. I think that's the lesson we've learned for the 1,000th time here. It's like, hey, big telco wants to make even more money, y'all, and we can't get in the way of those amazing. It's like in Star Trek. We're the goddamn Ferengi. Really what
man!
We are. Rub my ears.
By the way, if you've never read the rules of acquisition, they are
the rules of acquisition on the courts, on the courts, Gork, on the courts. We're so that.
This is a good newscast for
we may have taken retaliatory steps against some of the whistleblowers. You mean the ones who are dead? Could you clarify that? Never mind. So, the net neutrality thing is going to suck.
It already has sucked. This is a super old court case. This ship has sailed long ago. We already have fast lanes. We already have all the stuff that the negative. It is what it is. At this point, it's just status quo.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for Ryan. We've got business class. I mean, I think technically Ryan's internet is faster than we have at the main Black Hills Information Security offices. But because we're a business and we pay a shit ton of money, like it doesn't glitch in the middle of the day like Ryan's does. Ryan, picking on you.
Now, John, I want to nominate you for Grand Negus.
Yeah.
How much latinum is that?
Yeah.
So how come I remember all of this?
I don't know. I was like, damn, John is on key with the Star Trek reference.
I watched Deep Space Nine in college before this millennium began.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite Star Trek series. So.
Oh my god. Oh jeez. What's
so Don? You know Don Pizzette, right? He actually paid. There was a. They did a documentary on what could have been with Deep Space Nine on like newer episodes and stuff, and he paid to be like a Kickstarter or whatever. Got his name in the credits. We went to the theater and watched it. It was really interesting. So Deep Space Nine, a lot of love.
So, just to go back to the net neutrality thing, what I was thinking about this is, we don't really trust these organizations to set up things that are secure. And so there's got to be tons of hacking related things around net neutrality, right? Like there's got to be like, if you if you put this header in your packet, it just magically goes the speed of sound or whatever.
You spoof this IP address with this packet and it throttles somebody else's internet connection.
There's got to be more here, right? So I'm just saying, like, hackers of the world unite. Take advantage of these crappy corporate things and show the vulnerabilities that might exist, right? Like that's what hackers do.
And kind of getting the Salt Typhoon thing. I think the thing that's really, really terrifying about that is, when you're looking at law enforcement and intelligence communities putting in these closets, putting in these servers, putting in these rooms, the skiffs, in these telco providers, like there becomes this black hole that no one can ever test, right? Like you cannot pen test it. You cannot talk to that IP address. You got to stay as far away. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. This one goes to 11, stay away. And what happens is the people that are responsible for that in the government, like if they're in the military, they roll off their assignments after 5 years and you end up with just this incredibly old legacy technology that is plugged into these infrastructure and no one is taking any responsibility for them. So that's why I think it's really interesting that AT&T and Verizon are like, we're cool. Everything's fine. What they're saying is everything that's theirs is probably fine. But I'm willing to bet there's still vulnerabilities as far as these portals and access ways there.
Unless there's an inside man.
Unless there's an
insider.
You mean Big Red Team consultant?
No, we're going to be talking about a 20-year-old Army soldier who is being indicted on suspicious of being Kyber Phantom. There we go. I think I got that right. A cyber criminal who's been selling leaked sensitive customer call records stolen from AT&T and Verizon. And he's also a fan of selfies.
And just being generally a cyber scumbag based on his Telegram
Cameron
chat.
John Wingus. Yeah. So
he's Web 3.0 ready. Look at him.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, he's Web 3.0 ready.
Dude, that's roast worthy right there. Well done.
The one that was the piece of this that stood out the most to me was where it says, well, first of all, the kid's mom said, "I never was aware he was into hacking," which is a hilarious quote. So yeah, I mean, basically,
I thought he was locking his door for a completely different
was this the article? So scroll down to the bottom because there was a quote from a journalist that just killed me. So this is the best quote I have ever seen. Keep scrolling.
He and his brother when they were like 6
keep
or
scrolling.
7.
Here,
that one.
John, I'm going to need you to read this quote from from this reporter. It's the second to last paragraph. Read that.
Yes.
All right, here we go. I know that young people involved in cybercrime will read these articles, Nixon said. You need to stop doing stupid shit and get a lawyer. Law enforcement wants to put all of you in prison for a long time.
And
those are called facts.
That was so.
And
That
this is
that's
not manifesto.
That's Allison
Such a
Nix,
funny
right?
quote.
No,
She's one of she's up there. She's one of the VPs of Unit 221B, right?
Yeah.
Who specializes in finding these people.
She was
Which
like,
is
"This was
super
too
crazy.
easy. Your OPSEC sucks. Stop hacking and get a lawyer." That's basically what it says.
We got to get Allison on the show because Allison, she used to be on Security Weekly all the time, and she's a friend. I haven't seen her in a long time. But she, if you can go back and look at her first Black Hat presentation, I can't remember what vendor, there was like a CEO of some vendor came up and challenged her live at Black Hat to do something. And she just goes up to the mic and says, "Challenge accepted," and did that shit live in front of an audience. She is amazing. She is really one of my favorite security researchers. I also like how she has zero corporate polish at all.
Based on this quote, I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, all right. Who else are we going to pick on? Do we want to go over to the Bad Tenable plugin?
Yeah, I mean,
No,
Oh,
no,
I don't. I
not-
think
not
this is
today.
it's such a nothing burger. It's just like
I know,
Tenable
I
agents
know.
broke. They didn't even blue screen all the computers. Like, try harder.
We could have
Right?
tried harder.
They didn't. All they did was crash their own agent. That's weak. You got a blue screen at least at 200K computers. I mean, come on.
Isn't it like kind of cross-site scripting yourself and calling it a vulnerability in a roundabout way? Just saying alert.
Yeah. Kind of.
Drop it in the DOM, baby.
We can talk about the other article. I had another article that was kind of Kelly related.
Give me a
I'm
break
sorry.
today, Corey.
I'm sorry.
The guy who got
commented on it.
the guy who got 60 months worth of prison.
No, that's not Kelly.
No,
no.
We can talk about that. But
9 months of
the
prison.
Kelly related article, since she hasn't talked that much in the last 20 seconds,
Oh, yeah.
was the DOJ rule to block data transfers to adversarial. Is that just blocking data brokers? Is that all that does?
Basically.
Okay. I wasn't super clear on this, but basically the article is a new DOJ rules blocks or halts bulk data transfers to adversarial nations, which is defined as anyone that posts memes about Joe Biden. Basically that rule will block, I guess, bulk data transfers, but not commercial activity. So I don't know exactly how this will be enforced, but
I think it's both. And I might be confusing stories here too. There was an initiative earlier in 2024 to finally say, listen, why are we allowing data brokers to sell data on U.S. citizens? I don't think it was specifically DOD or the DOD environment, but I think there's similar acts or similar rulings. But honestly, it's about time somebody stood up and said, "Hey, why are we selling all this information?" For those of you who've had a, John, what is it? The SF, the form when you
special form.
That's
86.
it.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you've ever gone through that, they ask you everything, like who your second grade teacher was, who your first boyfriend was. At least that was the form I got. But that was involved in a huge data breach many, many years ago. So those of us in that space are like, hey, we're aware of how important data is about us because, everything's on there, your entire life history. But I'm kind of excited that this has brought attention to Joe and Jane, American citizens, saying, "Hey, all this information about you is being sold outside of the country, and you have no idea what's going on."
That's before it was legal. That's the crazy thing. It's like, so
Right.
like, it's crazy to think about, like, okay, let's say here's our company. We're called Evil Corp. What we do is we take Americans' data, we sell it to China. That's completely legal. Like, that should not be a thing.
Well,
I don't see the problem, Corey. I don't see
Okay.
the problem.
So, fun fact about that: a lot of these corporations, they will take that data, and this ties into some stories that we talked about in the beginning of 2024, where the United States government, for law enforcement and intelligence community purposes, were buying data about U.S. citizens from these data brokers, and there was huge questions as to whether or not that in and of itself was legal. So you have a lot of these data brokers that are harvesting data, and the United States government can't acquire that data directly from them. But if they sell it to a third party outside of the United States, and then the United States government buys that data from a third party, then somehow that makes it okay, as long as there's like another layer of separation in there as well. This is just skeevy. I still come back to like all of this data, all of the ad data that's being tracked by Facebook and Google and Amazon. This needs to stop. Like, we need to stop collecting data at this level. Because what is it? We didn't have a story on it, but isn't Facebook in trouble by creating very customized bots to interact with people? And they're having the bots and the AI bots interact with people based on the information that they're collecting about you as an individual to make you stay engaged on their platforms. Like this, what was that movie? Her? Was that the name of the movie? Where the guy fell in love with his AI chat bot that was running his house. Like,
he fell in love with Siri. Oops.
He fell in love with Siri. Yeah. So that's where we're headed with this stuff. So no, this all needs to be protected. I think it needs to be protected under HIPAA.
So they have this article about the AI
or
created profiles. Cool? I haven't seen them the actual profiles speaking to people, but pretty much it's like a complete fake profile, all completely AI made. And then it's on there, but it actually says like AI generated, AI created. But then like, why have them? Like, I don't understand if this is a social, right?
Why start, why it's like that. What was that horrible, it was a Saturday Night Live sketch. Whole bunch of mad scientists getting together, and they're like, who came up with the most evil thing? And this one scientist is like, I created a robot that touches children. And all of the other mad scientists are like, whoa, what? It's like Zuckerberg, I'm creating these AI chatbots to communicate with. What the fuck? What? Like, and they've probably put billions into this. Who the hell knows? Like, it's not good. So,
yeah. I mean, I don't even... if you have an article about them being in hot water for it, I'd be very curious because
they have.
They've
gotten in trouble. I think they're pulling them out now. But I don't think the project is dead. Like, I'm not seeing anything from Facebook that's like, we are going to kill this project and never revisit it ever again. It goes back to the dead internet theory. If people haven't seen it, you need to go read the wiki article on the dead internet theory. That basically is eventually the internet is going to be nothing but AI generated chatbots communicating with each other. And we're just floating around, and real humans don't touch or talk to each other.
They had that one African American profile. I just put the link inside of our chat that caused the huge backlash on everybody.
Oh no! Was it every single racist trope? Like,
is that Tay?
No, that was Microsoft.
Tay is old internet, and that was Microsoft.
Yeah,
that was a long time.
That's way low. Wow.
That was before large language models, for sure.
Yeah, they got Tay to like start saying Hitler was awesome and things like that. This, like, clearly, Meta didn't learn anything from that. They're like, no. I think we can get that right this time. We're not going to do anything. Oh God, it is bad. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So all of that joy and peace that we experienced in the new year, we just killed it with this podcast.
Just gone. So gone.
Hey, at least we not marked something off of our to-do list.
Yeah.
I'm going back to the War Thunder.
Oh,
okay.
Man.
Let's go back. Hey, can we talk about tiny robots kidnapping 12 big robots?
There's multiple fun stories we can close with. The tiny robots kidnapping other robots.
That's adorable.
I mean, it's adorable. It's such a fun thing to imagine. It's basically, it turns out it was kind of a nothing, like it was a test or whatever. But basically, the article is that, and there's a video which you can watch, but essentially, a robot is comes into the room and talks to the other robots and says, "How much do you work? Do you work too much? Do you work
okay,
overtime?"
to read it because the conversation is great. The robot.
Who will play the part of Robot 1? Kelly?
Are you working overtime? Large robot replies, "I never get off work." Small robot says, "So you're not going home?" And oh no, I can't scroll down.
"I don't have a home," replied the large
Come
robot.
with me, and like got all of the robots to follow it. It's adorable. It's like Wall-E.
So it's not fake, but it is intentional, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, yes, they kidnapped them, but they programmed them to be able to be kidnapped, right? Like,
Well, I don't
really
think they
understand
programmed
what
them.
is this
They gave
testing.
They gave permission to do this, and these robots were literally like, as soon as it said "follow me," all of the other robots were like, "Okay."
Yeah,
unlike those
of course.
stupid robots at the United Red Carpet Club that follow you around and try to ram you all the time. Those robots need.
What you got to do is say "follow me," then just walk off a cliff.
Walk off a cliff. That's all I got to do to solve that.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting to think about
that. Their pre-limit kill meter, and then they don't kill anymore.
I mean, it's interesting, but it also is really just simple to think about. If your robot is programmed to respond to all voice input, you can use another robot that can give voice input, right? So like you can give a voice command to a robot as long as it doesn't have some kind of validation. I mean, it's gonna work.
Man. Caliban Avenged said, and now it's a Cory Doctorow novel. And I got to know if Caliban is that from A Way of the Kings? Is your name based on that? Just out of curiosity. Bridge 4 type thing.
I didn't know you were a Sanderson fan.
reference.
Wow, okay.
I'm currently churning my way through that monster of a last book. It's like
I am halfway
hours.
through it right now.
Yeah, the last book
pretty good.
As good. I hope the next one, the new one, comes out and it's better.
But John, they discover the magical. They discover the magical ancient technology of therapy.
Yeah. The next book isn't coming out until like 2032. He said.
That's okay. That's okay.
What's the name of the
Way of the Kings?
The Stormlight Archive is
Stormlight Archive. The first.
Brandon Sanderson has an infinite amount of good but not amazing books that you can just churn through for hours.
No. Mistborn series, amazing. Way of the Kings.
There's a lot of good ones.
Amazing. What is the second one? Was amazing. He has a lot of amazing books, but you're right.
Yes.
There's a ton of them that are just kind of. They're not mad. They're all good.
It's like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's all good. None of it's going to change your life, but it's still a fun watch or read.
Yeah. Now we're going to set off a fight here. So.
Fight me. I read all of Wheel of Time. I hate myself.
I read it wasn't bad.
I've got a signed copy of the last book in that series, signed by Brian Sanderson somewhere.
The last book was good because it wasn't written by. Anyway, we should. This is not Fantasy Books podcast. That's a different podcast we have. It's secret.
Hey, no, this is the pivot. This is the pivot to fantasy books. We're no longer.
Do we want to talk about major biometric data farming operation uncovered?
Oh, I actually, if you don't mind, a pivot. Did everyone see the one about China persecuting a ransomware group for using ChatGPT to help improve their ransomware code? Like, I feel like it's just them. It's just them slapping them on the wrist, right? Like, but I just thought this was interesting. If you search ChatGPT, it'll probably come up. Let's see. Find the article. Yeah, China arrests 4 people who weaponized ChatGPT. For ransomware. And basically this kind of dovetails into China has banned ChatGPT. So of course they're like, you should have used our AI to write your ransomware, not ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But yeah, they actually, I mean, people in China getting arrested for ransomware seems like a newsworthy thing. So I guess the moral of the story is don't use
which
ChatGPT.
website did you get this from?
Hackread.com.
Oh, I got it from the South China Morning Post. I thought that was a little bit more credible.
Were you on Bayview?
I don't know. It's in the article list, so it's
they probably
super
got
legit.
mad at him because they're spending so much money for that ChatGPT license, right?
That's true. They're like, dang, our GPUs hurt. Please stop. Yeah, I just thought that's kind of funny. And apparently also China has their own national AI.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like that China got upset about was like not that you used OpenAI, but that you didn't use.
You should have used ErnieBot.
Yeah,
ErnieBot.
Yeah, and then there's BertBot.
The other interesting thing about that article, Corey, is the couple of the folks are in Inner Mongolia, excuse me, and remember, there's that tension between the
Uyghurs.
the Uyghurs.
Uyghur
Thank you,
Muslims.
Wade. So it could have been something more. I don't want to say a hate crime, but they're still targeting people who aren't ethnically Chinese.
Selective enforcement of ransomware laws? We've never seen that before.
Never seen that. That's what I was going to say. We don't hear about this too often in China, right? When's the last time you heard a ransomware operator arrested in China?
They just didn't make enough money. That was the problem.
I would imagine the ChatGPT bot's probably better at English than Ernie bot, but I don't know.
I've never done a head-to-head comparison between the two, but I'm assuming they're both good enough. If you look at,
I only use Ernie bot. It's nice when an app just requests all the permissions on your phone, just all of them.
Every one of
I
them.
like that. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Like interdimensional portal. That's an
Wait, this app has permissions to modify gravity within a 6-foot radius?
This is
that's
not-
probably fine.
This is a portal? Portal? Like something about cake. I don't know what this what does this thing want from me?
DNA sample? Wow, they're adding features to Android all the time.
Oh my god.
When Grandpa Rick starts inventing apps for your phone.
When Grandpa
Do not develop my app.
Daniel, come on, in and out. Just a quick adventure, real quick. In and out, Daniel. Come on. So. Good enough
All
is
right.
my life motto, says Disco Elite. Not bad. Not a bad life motto in there as well. All right. Do we have any other final stories to wrap it up? I mean, we have the man accused of SQL injection gets 69-month prison sentence. I mean, it's a really short article that is literally bending over backwards to add more words to just that one sentence. But he apparently was landing at JFK Airport following a trip to Ukraine, where they picked him up and they basically discovered computers and other storage devices that had been carrying hundreds of thousands of stolen payment credit. How do we have to train people? Like, if you're going to fly through an airport, two things. Like, number one, don't do crime. I think that goes with, that's a given.
But it's just SQL injection. It's a
But
light
it's just
crime.
SQL. But if you're going to commit crimes, don't put the stuff on your hard drives. And if you're going to put stuff on your hard drives, encrypt it. There's just so many life lessons to learn from this, starting with don't commit cybercrime. And everything flows out from there, I think.
Yeah, the 69 months was basically the time the person had already served. So they'll get out like next week or something.
Which is a long time to spend in prison for
SQL injection? Yeah, that's a long time.
For a
now,
few characters,
command
yeah.
injection, throw away the key. That's just
If they blue screened, they didn't blue screen anyone, so it's okay.
now. If he blue screens a sizable percentage of all the computers on the face of the planet, well, that is a straight shooter with upper management written all over him.
Is that a CrowdStrike
CrowdStrike.
reference?
I was going to say we should invest in his company, which is going to be an
Whatever that
accounting
company
firm.
is. Woo, man.
Yeah.
What he did it
Suck as if he
twice.
just fat-fingered a
promoted
single quote.
CEO of a company. So
He fat fingered a single quote. and that was-
69 months in prison.
I don't know. You just like hear these stories. I still love Malware Tech Blog. Whenever he was talking about being arrested and the FBI was asking him questions in the airport in Vegas, and he thought they were fans of his, and he was just talking about like all the things that he had done when he was younger, and they're like, no, you're completely hungover, possibly still a bit drunk. You probably need to get an attorney at this point. So, point is, whenever they start going through your devices, nothing good is happening in your TSA experience at that point. So it's like, I need an attorney now. You do not have a warrant, something like that, very, very quickly. But then again, at the beginning, don't commit crime. Like that's the easiest way around all of these things. Follow the words of Allison Nixon. Don't commit crimes.
Get a lawyer.
Telling
Yeah,
people
to
to
end
clear
on
their
a-
systems, John. It's never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
To end on a kind of high note, did y'all see the Germany black holing a bunch of BadBox devices article? That was kind of interesting.
That was kind of fun.
So basically, Germany has, essentially Germany has instructed its ISPs, its internet providers, to black hole these domains. The interesting thing about it, I think, is the threat model of this BadBox is basically, it sounds like it's an Android device, but it's seems like it's already installed at the time of sale, and it's basically like designed to be a backdoor into people's networks and like for like DDoS or other proxying stuff. I thought it was an interesting thing. It's like, why don't you buy a digital picture frame off of Alibaba? Well, this is why. It's
That's
basically the
good thing.
under
Yeah.
story here.
But they're so cheap.
They're so cheap, and they
10
I
for
thought it was
$5.
Timu now.
Timu.
Timu, yeah, you're right. Exactly. Yeah, this is why you don't buy something that runs Android off of Timu and then connect it to your home network.
I still can't believe like the Chinese are just like, so how are we compromising all these systems in the United States? They buy our crap stuff and they install it on sensitive networks. Like that's it. Like that's it.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That works every time.
It's fine, John. Only 70,000 Android smartphones, CTV boxes, and tablet devices were pre-installed with malware. So that's you can't DDoS someone with only 70,000 bots.
They're cutting back.
I feel like there's a theme here with the War Thunder story, the biometric story, where they were paying people to like take a selfie of themselves and send it in, and then this story, it's like there's something here. There's something here. I can't quite put my finger on. I just don't know what it is.
They think that they start selling fake flippers, and oh man,
I
still really be interesting.
We had a pen test years ago where I created a whole bunch of cards with Joff, and they were like credit card size things, and they had a USB stick that popped out the side. And it was on the front of the card. It said somebody in your family or your friends basically supported this Kickstarter on your behalf for this first-person space simulator game. Thank you so much. We met all of our funding, and as promised, here's the first version of the game. And we sent that to all the systems administrators at this company.
Oh my God, LAN party!
Yeah, it didn't work, and the reason it didn't work is apparently the game I picked sucked. It was not a good game. I should have done better.
Was it War Thunder? No.
Well, an early prototype of War Thunder.
Oh my goodness.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Looking forward to 2025, and we appreciate all of you for showing up. Thanks again, and we will see you next week on the news.
Happy New Year.
Yep.